Boom, guys, what's up? This is McAllister's podcast. I'm your host, as always, Coleman McAllister. Got another super solo episode today. Hoping that this damn thing doesn't crash. I was going to do an interview with a guest, and that fell through. I'm limited on the technological front. I'm not funded by Test 1 2. Thank you. I'm not funded by some corporation or political party, so I don't have the technology to take everything, or to have my home studio, then have a portable studio where I go interview people, right? So anyways, long story short, technology didn't work. Computer crashed this morning. I thought I was going to have to completely reset my computer and not do a live podcast here, but here we are. We're doing it. Got a lot to talk about today. A couple really big things have happened. Both in terms of the world and in the state of Iowa and nationally, with this big scandal involving the libertarian candidates in Iowa being screwed out. If you guys have questions, drop them in the chat when we get to them at the end. So let's hop into it. So the first big thing that this whole thing with the libertarian candidates is pretty big, but I guess to start out, I'll just give my thoughts on this recent peace deal between the U.S. and Iran. I'll say first off, I think every time we go into the direction of peace, it's always a good thing. It's better to make peace with your worst enemy than to continue to fight. Not only in terms of the, what is going on in that conflict, but just on a regular level, there's resources that are being that are being wasted. Taxpayer dollars are being wasted. There are plenty of things that are just not sensical for this. Here, I'm going to adjust this here. Sorry. I'm super professional, guys. So yeah, I every time you step towards peace, really in any conflict, like personal or otherwise, but like especially on something like a state conflict, like a funded conflict, a war of choice, it's obviously always better to have peace. Now, I think this just raises some. I think the biggest concern around this is the authenticity of it. How the U.S. will actually be able to, come forward with this, actually make, because there's another element of Israel involved in it too, right? It's not simply just that it's between the U.S. and Iran. Everybody knows this. Israel's not only been pulling the strings in the U.S. government, but has also been being involved in conflicts. Let's see this article real quick from antiwar.com. Okay, well, I guess we can't see the article. That's problematic. Wow. Oh, you know what it is? Wow, guys. Like I said, this fucking... God damn it, dude. There we go. I apologize. I'm a fucking boomer with this shit. Israeli ministers say Israel isn't bound by U.S.-Iran deal, will not withdraw from Lebanon. And the article goes into the specifics there. But it's very clear that Israel is not going to play along with this peace deal between the U.S. Now, there are a lot of things that are revealing about this. Not even in terms of what's actually going on, but the reactions to it too. I saw an article today. It didn't really have a lot of substance, so I didn't pull it up, but I saw a headline on Fox News today saying that Ted Cruz has withdrawn support for Trump or maybe not Trump specifically, I think Trump, but specifically two candidates of Trump, he has pulled support for that. And as much as I give Tucker Carlson, I think he did a really good job in that interview with Ted Cruz, where he really was just you shouldn't you be like U.S. first versus America first ahead of Israel first? Like if you are a delegate of this country and you are supporting this country, like shouldn't that be your priority? Shouldn't the American people be the priority over Israel? And he gave some both political and religious nonsense as to why he wasn't. But like something like this is just. It just shows more than anything where his loyalties truly lie. And, Ben Shapiro, Dave Smith already covered it on his podcast, so we won't go over it. But, Ben Shapiro essentially made the argument that, like, we were saying that Israel didn't have the right to protect itself, which is nonsense. Like, nothing in this deal is saying that, like, we're going to attack Israel or we're going to, I guess, I don't even know if there's anything in the deal about, like, us not supporting Israel. But, like, even if that was the case, like even if we were just like, hey, we're going to cut you off, like you're on your own. That's not us saying that you don't have a right to defend yourself. I made this analogy with a friend. It's like, this is like the feminist who is like, say what you want about feminism, right? But like, this is the feminist who goes around and says that like, she's strong and independent and XYZ, right? And then gets mad at the guy for not defending her, right? Like, it's completely hypocritical. It's just dishonest. I mean, and like with these other Zios, like it just shows like where your loyalty truly lies. In a crazy way too. Like, I was, 5 years ago, you would never have seen this split in the media or like in anybody's basis over this whole thing with Israel. Things that were always conspiracy theories, like, that Israel was pulling the strings of the U.S. government, like things that always just seemed kind of like ridiculous. And now years later, like within this last 2 years, like it's been so clear that this is the case, that like they are pulling the strings. Like when Trump openly says that, like, I can't remember the name of the person. I should really know names better for being a podcaster, but Adelson, I think the Adelsons, when they gave money to Trump and he openly says that they're giving him money and that they want the interests of Israel to be, in his foresight, that's really problematic. When you think about like a free, a by the people government, that's what it's supposed to be, right? Or that's what's not supposed to be, I should say. It's not supposed to be that we have private interests control the government. Now, as the ANCAPs and the libertarians always know, that's impossible. But if you were to, truly have this government for the people, that wouldn't be in the picture at all, right? So I think that's really revealing. And I think this really does put, throw a wrench in the whole mix. It's like, we have this peace deal, right? How much of this is really going to be us stepping away from Israel and saying that, like, we're not involved in this? There was a clip I saw today where Trump was even claiming that Israel would not exist without him. And there may be truth to that, right? There probably is truth to that. Like, we do supply a lot of weapons, a lot of funding. And, they also supply it back to the people in the government, right? So if we're to just completely cut that off, completely alleviate that, then like what's going to happen next? Is that something that people in the U.S. government and et cetera, like, is that something they really want to happen? Like, I don't think so. Like, and Trump is kind of doing this fence sitting thing where he's like, no, Israel still has a right to exist, and I still like Israel, still like Netanyahu, and I don't know. I hate to be like the quote unquote like autistic, but like this is kind of a binary thing in my mind. Like, if you want to do the correct moral thing, if you want to like really act, in the interest of the people who voted for you, you really have to kind of like put like a yes or no thing on this. Like, yes, we're going to completely support Israel and help them and get involved in the Middle East and do all these stupid wars of choice. Or we're going to completely withdraw. We're going to say, nope, we're cutting off Israel. We're not going to engage in these stupid wars. We're just going to do our own thing. And it's surprising that Trump's doing this, but it would also not be surprising if he just was able to just say, fuck that. So I guess those are my thoughts on that. I'm hopeful that this actually turns out, and I'm hopeful that the right thing can be done, but we'll see. Question for Dave. AOC or APL? Who's APL? Should I know that? Should I know who that is? I'm not sure. Okay. So let's get into this whole thing with the Iowa LP. Can't refer. That's bullshit. So Monday, I was invited, but I wasn't able to go. There was a hearing around the let's say the candidacy status of a couple libertarian candidates. One, somebody we've had on the podcast several times, Marco Battaglia, aka Mark Thomas Anderson, I think is his legal name. And then who is this? I should know this better. Jules Cutler. Both candidates in the Libertarian Party, where they were originally not able to participate in this upcoming election. This is what happened last year in 2025. I don't remember if we covered it or not, but there were certain city and low government positions that libertarian candidates tried to participate in, and the Iowa government told them, no, you are not allowed. Like, the Libertarian Party essentially was not allowed to be its official party on the ballot. If you wanted to run, you would have to run the same way I would have to run. Like, I'd have to write in, right? Like, if you wanted to vote me for the governor or whoever, please don't. I don't want that position. But you would have to go to the bottom and write me in, right? And that's something that you can do. But everybody knows that because of the electoral process, because of things like the Electoral College and just how it's not a true popular vote. You still have to have party status in order to truly be considered for that position. So if Joe Schmo got 75% of the vote, but he's not part of a party, he's just a write-in, he's not going to be governor. And that's fucked up. And I think that just shows how this is not, we don't live in a true democracy, right? This is all just kind of bullshit at the end of the day. But it is how it is. It's sad. But this was a really crazy thing that happened because in the case of Marco Battaglia, I think and like I said, I plan on interviewing him sometime soon, and he's going to completely give his scoop and story on that. So I don't want to dive too deep into the things that me and him have been texting back and forth. I don't want to dive too deeply into that because I want to save it for that episode. But there are things that have made national headlines I think we just have to discuss surrounding this. So Marco Battaglia was omitted from the ballot due to a legality with his name. Now, I'll just say this: if you want to apply that standard, fine. I better never, I'm not going to vote, so I won't know. But if I see Rob Sand and not Robert Sand on the ballot, if Kim was not Kimberly Reynolds, if you're really gonna enforce these rules to this particular thing, you better enforce it across the board. But the fact is that the powers that be in the Iowa state government do not want that. That's not in their interest. The panel who was made up of the auditor office. Rob Sand did not participate due to conflict of interest, which I guess I can appreciate to some extent, and was replaced by Mike Naig, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, Naig. Even if even if it's not Rob Sand himself, like even the fact that office is even involved in that decision is a conflict of interest in itself, in my opinion. It might not legally be, but in my opinion, that's just a red flag. Regardless of how the governmental, how regardless of how those things work, I think that's just conflict of interest in my mind. So, it's not surprising that they all voted against, his bid because of that, legality. And like, fine, if you want to actually enforce that across the board, I guess that's fine. But the fact is that they're not, and they're not going to. And we'll get into some of the specifics with some of the claims that he has against Zach Nunn and RFK contacting him, which is scandalous for sure. I think is wild. But before we get into that, so this Jules Cutler, I believe she was the governmental candidate. Governmental. I'm not saying that. The lieutenant governor candidate. So that would be Rick Stewart, because I saw Rick Stewart mention that. I don't know if Rick Stewart was eligible for the LP or not. I didn't look into that, but she was a lieutenant governor candidate, and she was also denied being able to be on the ballot under the Libertarian Party. Now, the claim with her is it's almost more egregious in my mind, because she was someone who was going to do like all the processes and all the correct things in order to do this. There's an affidavit that she was, the reason that they did not let her be on the ballot is because she did not submit this affidavit. But she claims that a government employee told her not to do this. So, best case scenario, severe incompetence by the government, that should be penalized. Like that person, if this person works for this organization and they're not properly doing their job, they should be let go. Worst case scenario, clear corruption and a clear way to just say, hey, we're gonna make it less likely for another voice to be in the conversation due to a minor technicality that that was done incorrectly based on information that we gave. Now, I think it was the what was it? What was the office that? Secretary of State. There you go. Did the Secretary of State themselves do this? No, an employee did. But that still falls on that government official for sure. So anyways, let's react to this video on I thought this was just interesting, her reaction to this. So this is I believe this is shortly after the decision was made regarding her ballot status.
And most certainly will be doing disservice to Nick, who spent every weekend collecting those petitions. My response to this is I feel like I woke up in the USSR. I feel like I spent 30 somewhat years in immigration for no reason. Think about it. They refused to provide the cameras of the lobby of the Secretary of State to show that I actually tried to produce this affidavit. I'm holding this right now. This is a copy of it, but if you see, it is wrinkled because it was in fact in my shredded box, right? You, Stephen, saw me being present there. She doesn't even remember me that I was present there. She doesn't remember her commission date. She doesn't remember who wrote affidavits for her. What she does remember is that I never handed her the affidavit. Well, how can she possibly remember that if she doesn't remember that I was there?
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point. Yeah, I think that's entirely fair. People think it's ridiculous to compare that to the USSR, but in a way, it kind of in a way is. I mean, is it exactly Stalinism, one rule thing? Like on paper, no. But I mean, I think anyone knows that the two-party system is bullshit. It's a facade. And the Libertarian Party is a clear opposition to that. There were in early American history, there was the Whig Party. There were other parties that were involved in these things, and even Democratic Republicans, that meant a lot. Those definitions meant different things in a different time, right? Because these things change. But we live in a time now where not only is that not changing, but there's actually an inability for it to change because of this, bureaucracy in the government. And, this is something, and we'll get into this with the Zach Nunn responses. It's always so convenient to me that these government officials just forget things. Like they don't remember certain, key critical parts that would, help the case against them, but they will remember the things that serve their best interest. Yeah, I do think it's ridiculous that she would remember, or not remember the incident with her and the whole, submitting the affidavit, but she remembered, or however that went, or she didn't remember her, but she did remember, or didn't remember the incident, but did remember her. However she said that. I'm retarded, guys. Okay. However that happened, that just contradicts you, makes no sense, or contradicts that person. Makes absolutely no sense. And who's going to hold that person accountable? Is the Secretary of State, is that person going to be held, responsible for, mishandling this? No, of course not. So, I mean, I think it's just really egregious. Now, okay, let's set aside that story. Let's move into Marco Battaglia. So look, I will say this. I again, if this is going to be something that's applied uniformly, it kind of makes sense that the whole legal status name. But I was talking to Marco this morning. Apparently, JD Vance has changed his name 3 times, and I think at least one of them was not done legally. But that that doesn't bar him from appearing on the ballot. So it does kind of come down to this thing where it's okay, we're going to not apply the rules to these two parties, but on this third party that may jeopardize our votes, we're going to really scrutinize that and really put the test forth, right? And there is just something that's just biased about it. I already said, if you're going to be this for the people unbiased party, you better be doing this to everyone. My guess is that Rob Sand is not going to be Robert Sand on the ballot. He's just going to be Rob. Anyways, so the thing that was crazy so before this hearing even happened on Monday, and like I said, we're going to interview him, hopefully in the next couple weeks or sometime, we're going to interview Marco and really get his side of the story on this. I'm just going to go off public information, or information that he's made public. But 2 things happened ahead of this hearing over the ballot discrepancy. Number 1, Zach Nunn personally visited Battaglia's home in order to persuade him to not be on the ballot, or to take his name out of the race. His advice, he has not commented personally. His advisors have denied this and said that it was in regards to I believe some signatures, and so that happened. And then number 2, Marco personally received a phone call from Robert Kennedy Jr. or RFK Jr. I should say, Robert F. Kennedy, whatever. Personally received a call from him, urging him to drop out of the race, and he said that it would be a personal blow to him, if he decided to run, which is really kind of for anybody involved in politics, that's just kind of a ridiculous statement. The fact that you would take like, if you're in this game, the fact that you would take any of this personally is just stupid. I'm sorry. Like, you're in a really tough game. Like, you're in a really, like, sometimes downright violent game. You know, seeking that position of power. And like, so to like take things personally like that, it almost seems like it's a way to try to manipulate him. And and through all that, I'm really glad that he stood his ground. You know, if these things are really true, he did. And this is in the Politico article, I should say. But he did provide screenshots of a number associated with RFK calling him, and with timestamps and everything. And it was about a 12-minute phone call. You know, there isn't a recording of these conversations, so there's no way to prove that these things happened. So, I mean, the fact is that, I mean, like with all this stuff, right? Like, these people are not going to be held accountable. But if it was true that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. did this, that's an impeachable offense for sure. You are definitely not supposed to use your position of power to try to dissuade people from running. And it just shows the corruption. I think in one of the articles he mentioned Marco mentioned something about like RFK and Zach, you know, or Zach Land, Zach Nunn. Like, why? Like, all these people have like super Iowa names. Like, come on, man. Like, switch it up a little bit. But Zach Nunn, like that, they would all go hang out in DC or something like that, like, which is like a low-key bribe, right? Yeah, there's just some things about this that are really shady. Really shady. I'm just looking to see if I missed anything. Oh yeah, there were claims that but there's a claim in the article. Let's just look at this real quick. Cool. Oh yeah, Ann Cool is the advisor to Zach Dunn's campaign. Claim that there's strong evidence Battalia's signatures were gathered by dark money groups outside groups with ties to the Democratic Party. Which is the most vague thing ever. Like, dark money outside groups with ties to the Democratic Party. I mean, you could tell us what that is, right? Like, that would be like a good thing. Like, if you're just gonna make that claim, maybe you could tell us the specifics on that and just not just make this general claim. You know, if these people were actually doing their due diligence, that's probably what would happen. But of course, it won't. And they are going forward and appealing this decision, which I think is good. Like I said, we're gonna talk with him more. I don't want to give too much of an opinion on that. Like, I don't want to try to put too much of a bow on it because I am going to interview him later. But like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you know, I go on here a lot and I say that like Iowa is one of the most corrupt states in the country, and I still firmly believe that. And this, in my mind, solidifies that. Now, the problem with all this stuff is, you know, would it have been nice for there to be some kind of recording of all these events transpiring? Yes, that would have been great. But I mean, really, we're coming down to Marco's word, and in the case Julia's word, against the state, against the deep state as well. Now, does that mean that those voices are 100% credible? No, I think that would be intellectually dishonest to say that. But, you know, I know Marco. I've had him on the podcast several times. He's a good guy. Me and him probably wouldn't agree on every single thing, but I think his heart's in the right place. And I would not ever see him doing something like this. I mean, doing something where he's, you know, conspiring with dark money groups associated with the Democratic Party, which is the most vague general thing ever, right? But also, like him lying about any of this, like, I just don't believe it. It seems to me that the very fact that like there is like Zach Nunn has not denied, you know, visiting Marco's house. RFK has not commented, has conveniently ignored or declined comment on whether he called Marco. But I mean, we have the phone records, and like, if these things weren't true, like, why would they even bother contacting him, right? Like, I could see the whole thing with like the signatures for Zach Nunn. I think it's a really lame excuse, but like, fine, let's just say that that's true. It's not. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that was true. Then, like, yes, he would be at his house, maybe. Although I don't know why you wouldn't just call him or even email him. I mean, that seems like a pretty benign. Like, I don't see why that's a thing that you wouldn't want on record, right? And obviously, there's something about them doing this in a way that is not able to be recorded. Like, they're doing this in person, and then RFK is doing it over the phone, which I guess could have been recorded, but his ass probably doesn't realize that, right? Like, his old ass. I'm really curious to see how Marco, that's one of the things I want to ask him in the interview. Like, I'm really curious to see how he feels about this, like, personally with RFK. Like, he was a big supporter of RFK, like, far more than I was ever willing to be, right? I've always had my suspicions about RFK, and this in my mind kind of solidifies it, that, he and Tulsi Gabbard and Trump, like, they're all the same, right? Like, they're all the establishment. So I don't know. I think this is concerning. I think this is a clear sign of corruption, and it's concerning to me that the office of Rob Sand was involved in this. Did not do what I think would have been the right thing to do. And like, look, we'll see coming to the election. Like, maybe this standard will be applied to both the Democratic and the Republican candidates. And maybe Marco has time to legally change his name or appeal this and succeed with the appeal. Like, all these things could happen. But I mean, the fact is, like I said, you applied a measly, very specific thing to an idea, a party and ideas that, like, you clearly view as like a way of not securing your race. And look, I think if and when Rob Sand wins the candidacy for governor, is this something that he's going to fix? Probably not. I think the fact that his office didn't do what I think was the right thing, I think that clearly shows that. The fact that he was so, and they kind of did the same thing with the whole Ian Roberts thing, right? They were very specific on this one thing. They're like, this is why this specific thing is why we can't clear this. And it's like, okay, like, you're really telling me you're applying the standard, like, across the board? The Des Moines Public School System didn't apply the standard when they hired Ian Roberts, right? And now is when you're gonna, like, I don't know. I just think if people that are in the game are not going to play by the rules, you can't really make people who aren't in the game or, like, who are trying to get into the game play by them. Like, it's just a bullshit thing. It's a clear bullshit thing. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. Kind of a shorter episode today, guys. I apologize, but I mean, I don't know. I gave my views on what's happening globally, what's happening with this scandal with the LP. I don't consider myself a libertarian by any means, but I know a lot of guys in the Libertarian Party from Iowa, and I really hope that they succeed. And, who knows? Maybe I'll reach out to Jules and get an interview with her. I'm sure I could. And we'll definitely get an interview with Marcos. So, yeah, we'll be doing some more. We'll have some more content up over the next couple weeks for sure. Podcasts, live streams, gaming stuff, all that. You guys know what's up. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Peace.